If you asked me growing up if I was down with MTV, the answer would be a resounding, yeah, you know me. I'm not alone, because for many of us who grew up in the 80s or 90s, MTV was essential viewing. Throughout the years, there were so many MTV moments that are forever burned in our brains. Like Bobby Brown maybe or maybe not dropping his Coke vial on stage at the Video Music Awards.
Back and to the left, back and to the left, back and to the left.
Or Diana Ross getting to second base with Lil' Kim on live television.
Back and to the left.
Or this clip I refuse to provide any context for.
I will gut you like the piece of that you are. Do you understand?
But for my money, there is no moment that stands out more than one that occurred on May 12th, 1999, the day Vanilla Ice absolutely wrecked MTV.
That's not a... Just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. There we go.
But before we delve into that, we have to flash back to earlier in the decade when a young Rob Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice, was on top of the world. His single Ice Ice Baby was the first rap single to ever hit #1 on the Billboard charts. He was dating Madonna, and hell, he was now starring in his own motion picture.
Words of wisdom. Drop that zero and get with the hero.
Things were going great for the Iceman, so long as you completely ignored the tidal wave of backlash coming his way.
Ice, ice, baby. Vanilla ice.
Anyone who rose that quickly was going to get pushback, but anyone who hit the level of overexposure Vanilla Ice did was going to get it to the nth degree. Ice was a massive pop culture figure, but controversies followed him wherever he went. There were the questions of whether or not he was committing cultural appropriation. There were the questions of whether or not he had lied to people about his biography. There was the question about what exactly was the differences between Ice Ice Baby and Under Pressure.
Ding 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 ding. That little bitty change. It's not the same.
Not helping matters was, well, he was Vanilla Ice. I don't want to be a jerk, but I mean, look at him. His appearance made him an easy target, but his mouth also tended to get him into trouble. His infamous American Music Awards appearance where he told his haters they could kiss his white butt did not go over well with some people. One of those people was talk show host Arsenio Hall, who couldn't hide his disgust of Vanilla Ice during an appearance on the show.
So this is a white rapper being suppressed kind of revenge.
Something like that, yeah.
Then you had fellow rappers Third Base, who dressed Henry Rollins as Vanilla Ice and beat him with a bat in their Pop Goes the Weasel music video. And then there was the legendarily brutal In Living Color sketch, White White Baby, where Jim Carrey eviscerated Vanilla Ice. For all sorts of reasons, justified and unjustified, people hated Vanilla Ice. As the negativity increased, Ice's album sales decreased. In 1994, he made a failed attempt at reinvention with his album Mind Blowing, but it didn't blow minds as much as it just blew. As quickly as Vanilla Ice rose, he fell. By the time he was considered a has-been, Vanilla Ice was only 25 years old. At this point, the story gets very behind the music-y, which makes sense as Vanilla Ice had one of the better behind the musics. He developed a drug addiction and became increasingly bitter. He had gotten his wish of fame and fortune, but the proverbial monkey's paw had cost him his dignity. By his own admission, he had sold out and become a puppet willing to do whatever was asked if the price was right. It wasn't necessarily what his critics thought of him that had gotten to him, it's what he was thinking about himself. As he told DJ Vlad in an interview, at a certain point he just couldn't figure out the difference between Rob and Vanilla Ice.
You were exaggerating to yourself. You're looking at this life that you've created and this persona that is larger than life, and you're thinking that's you.
By the time of the late 90s, Ice had begun to piece himself back together. After a lengthy absence, he had begun dipping his toes back into music. This was during the rise in nu metal, and Ice saw an opportunity to reinvent his sound and make music that expressed all the anger that had built up inside him during the decade. He released his new album Hard to Swallow and began touring around the country. But if people were going to get on board with the new, angrier Vanilla Ice, they were going to need to see it in action. If only there was a music television network who wanted him to come on and talk about his old hit song. As the new millennium drew closer, MTV was beginning to examine itself in a historical context. They had done a special called 25 Large with a panel of various hip-hop artists showing and discussing iconic rap music videos. The follow-up to that would be far less celebratory, as it would be about the worst music videos in MTV history. The list was curated by fans who voted at MTV.com, and all the videos selected would never be played on MTV again. The special was called 25 Lame, will be hosted by 4 comedians: Denis Leary, Janeane Garofolo, Jon Stewart, and Kattan. As Stewart later described the special, in typical MTV fashion, let's play a video until everyone gets nauseous and then do a show about how much it sucks. Honestly, it's a great special, as it really seems like you're hanging out with funny people and Denis Leary in a basement riffing about what's on TV. I don't think anything they say is that out of bounds, and most of their criticisms about the videos are fair. There are even songs some of them say shouldn't be on the countdown, like Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping, or Four Non-Blondes' What's Up. If you ever want to hear Denis Leary sincerely defend the merits of the Macarena, this is the special for you. As the countdown reached the top 10, they announced that not only would the next 10 videos never get played on MTV again, they would be destroyed. First to suffer the fate would be Debbie Gibson's Electric Youth, as Chris Kattan destroyed the tape with Chekhov's bat. They then announced they had a special guest, as Janeane Garofolo reminded us that they weren't destroying the videos because they were bad, but because MTV overplayed them. I don't know how you can remind us of something that was literally never said, but what do I know? Obviously, the special guest was Vanilla Ice, who was invited to join the festivities and destroy the tape of Ice Ice Baby himself. He began talking about how he was sick of hearing the song and started into a small spiel, but then someone in production reminded everyone they had to watch the video first before they destroyed it. Ice's interrupted speech was probably the first clue that he had come onto this show with an agenda. As they watched the video with Ice, Jon Stewart remarked, "It's a lot harder to do this with someone there." Denis Leary even jokes with Ice that when he's done with the tape, maybe he can trash the Debbie Gibson mannequin.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
The comedians lightly teased Vanilla Ice, who was polite but didn't have a whole lot to say. On the outside he was quiet, but inside there was a lot going on. Vanilla later said he felt disrespected MTV had invited him to be on this, as he felt badly about how the network that had helped build him had turned on him. So maybe, being in the studio for the first time in years got his blood boiling. He said before that being made fun of didn't bother him, but maybe his limit was sitting next to Denis Leary, who once said about Vanilla Ice, quote, that if I was a black urban rap guy, I would have been on a roof with a box of Tech 10 shooting every white pumps of red sweatpants. You can't blame Denis for that though, Bill Hicks probably wrote that joke. After the video ended, Chris Kattan handed Ice a baseball bat and urged him to destroy Ice Ice Baby once and for all. Ice began talking about the changes in his life and his new attitude, and well, why talk about it when you could be about it? And that's when Vanilla Ice went nuts. He proceeded to take the bat and smash everything he could think of, to the sheer horror of all the comedians. He even took Denis Leary's advice, which is probably Bill Hicks' advice first, and trashed the Debbie Gibson mannequin.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
Of course, the best part is when Ice realizes the tape isn't fully destroyed and comes towards Kattan, who sincerely yells, "Vanilla!" Vanilla Ice had been holding in so much anger for nearly a decade, and now the world had seen it. Ice was escorted out of the building by security, as the crew was left to pick up the pieces, and pieces of popcorn. Nobody knew this was coming, except for maybe Vanilla Ice. I do think Vanilla went there with the intention to gain publicity by causing some havoc, but I also think watching the video in that moment might have awoken something in him he didn't know was there. I'm not sure if Ice even knows what was premeditated or what was spontaneous. Either way, he was satisfied with the outcome. According to Ice, the security guards escorting him out told him they thought what he did was awesome. The comedians were in shock for the rest of the special. It takes a good while before they're able to shake it off and get back into their rhythm. None of them seemed to take it personal, as Janeane Garofolo even said, "Obviously, I don't think that was about us." Very quickly, the plan to destroy all the tapes was put aside, except for the number one video, Don Johnson's Heartbeat, which was put into a blender as we watched it spin round to a beautiful oblivion. Vanilla Ice's meltdown is nothing short of legendary. Bill Simmons once said, quote, "It might be the best 6 minutes on YouTube." You would expect Vanilla Ice to regret the incident, but no, he felt he was justified. At that point in his life, he was so angry and bitter that he felt MTV had done him a disservice by trying to mock him, and this was the least he could do. Besides, it made good TV.
Like you didn't bust up that whole studio with a bat, like for any reason I can imagine, other than that you were actually like offended by them, and like, you know, like you were like, hey, you're gonna mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you.
Absolutely,
and
you
then,
nailed it. That's exactly what it was. You're trying to mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you back.
Right, and then something.
You really invite me on your show to destroy my shit?
Right.
Joke's on you.
Vanilla Ice eventually made peace with his past and has learned to embrace songs like Ice Ice Baby and Ninja Rap. No word of how he feels about I Love You though. He even ended up co-starring Chris Kattan on a season of Rachel vs. Guys Celebrity Cook-Off, which I'm sure didn't reactivate any latent PTSD in Kattan. It took him a while, but Rob Van Winkle finally came to terms with Vanilla Ice. He chalked up his new outlook to a quote from his surreal life co-star, Tammy Faye Mesner. "We are who we are, because of who we were. And honestly, if you can take one thing away from this video, it's those words of wisdom. That and that Denis Leary stole his entire shtick from Bill Hicks.
Ding, 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 ding. Ding, ding, ding. That's the way theirs goes. Ours goes ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. That little bitty change. It's not the same.